guys? This is Wenzes. Welcome back to my channel where we talk about personal development for INFJs and how to create an epic life on your terms. Today we're looking at the TV show Suits, and we're gonna look at it from an INFJ career perspective and what we can learn from that. So what's the difference between the image that is portrayed in the TV show and the reality of it? I myself have been in the corporate world before I became a full-time YouTuber and life coach. I was in top-tier consulting in the banking world for 7 years. So I'm gonna tell you a couple of secrets that most people don't know about and what that means for an INFJ. Before we get started, I want to remind you, if you want to take the next step in creating your INFJ epic life, then work with me privately or join the Epic Life Bootcamp waiting list. All the information you find below. In the TV show Suits, it's about a group of lawyers making it, having fun in the process, living out intense situations and feeling completely alive. It's one of the reasons why this series was so successful. So many people got tuned into it because it felt like if you would live that situation, if you would live the kind of life that the characters were living, you would have an exciting life. Different than what we know in reality, right? Let's say you want to go that route. Let's say you think, okay, that corporate job could be the thing for me. This is how we imagine it would be. You might say, well, I'm not that naive to think that it looks like a TV show, but we really underestimate how different it is than what we see on TV. And it's not about like the details. Maybe even some of the cases would be the same. It's not that they're so unrealistic. That's not what I'm talking about. But the reason why we like shows like Suits so much is because of the emotion that it conveys. It's about the intensity. It's about how we would experience life. And I'm here to tell you, reality does not look like that at all. If you're in these positions, it looks rather gray. You don't have any kind of emotions. There's no intensity. And the people working there are people who have no joy for these kind of emotions that are actually portrayed in these kind of shows. In real life, people are working all the time. There's peer pressure. There's so many things that make you feel like you're in this gray hole. Everything is dark and it's uncomfortable and it doesn't have anything to do with what we experience. So you might ask, okay, so what does that mean? Does that mean that specifically I as an INFJ who craves those emotions, who wants that intensity in my life, that I just have to live with the fact that I won't be able to have these kind of emotions? I saw there's an opportunity I could live that. In the back of my mind, I could actually have a career that makes me feel this way. Because let's face it, a career, even if it was just for the money, it's what we can do with that money. It's the kind of life we could live then. It's the excitement that we want. There's a reason why we're always talking about the INFJ epic life, because we in particular are very well aware of the emotion that we want to experience while we live that life. If we had all the money in the world and everything we ever would want, and then we would feel like everything is a struggle, it's no fun, there's no intensity, it's boring, we wouldn't be doing it. And that's actually one of the reasons why so many of us stay back from jobs like this. Because once you take a step into it, you recognize that the reality is completely different. It is not about joy. It's about what can I do at this job? How can I improve everything here so I can live a good life outside of that? And then you get into this spiral where you don't know how you got there. There's so much peer pressure that makes you want to get involved into this world even more. And of course, that in reverse brings you less and less joy. So is that a clear, oh, INFJs can never live like this? INFJs should never take those jobs? Definitely not. What we have to do as INFJs, we have to remember why we want to go into it. Yes, there is this aspect of, okay, I want to make good money, I want to live in a great place, I want to make sure that I feel secure, but that we also want that excitement. And that excitement will not come from us playing by those rules. That being said, that does not mean you have to be an entrepreneur, you have to start your own thing. You can still experience all those emotions, all this joy, all this intensity if you go for a career that's in the corporate world like it's portrayed in Suits. The difference here is that we have to remember what we actually like about that show. We have to remember what we are good at. And what's that? It's human connection. It's having intense relationships. It's creating excitement for what's to come. And it's breaking the rules. Those are the things that are portrayed in those shows, if you think about it. It's not so much about what this paragraph says or how we can write a brief that's really correct. Those are not the things that excite us. And the point that we have to always keep in mind is that we have to know our strengths. and be willing to go against the grain, to go against what everybody else is doing. Because once you go into those corporate jobs, as I said, you will find people who are most likely not like you, people who love to write those briefs, people who love to sit in front of Excel spreadsheets, who don't need the human interaction like we do. I know we're all about working by ourselves and that we don't have interactions that cause us to pull back, but the main reason for this is because we have trouble setting boundaries. But this feeling that this show is giving us is that we could actually do that. If that was a real job, we would be great at it. We could also argue in such a way. We could also get excited about some case that has that many layers to it. So how do we turn this into our reality? We become very aware that we're not like the majority of people working in these corporate jobs. And if we want to succeed not only on paper and slowly make it by and sort of be able to pretend we're like everybody else, that we lean into who we really are. Meaning, if you're really good at connecting with people, you should be somewhere where you have contact with new clients, where maybe the people who are really good at the spreadsheets, who are really good at the briefs, wouldn't be able to pull a new client because they won't be able to understand the client's needs like you could. Maybe you'll come up with an idea that nobody else has thought of. You know, you're an INFJ. Use those gifts. Do not try to be like everybody else. The typical people in corporate jobs are ISTJs and ESTJs. This is not what you see in TV shows like Suits. So don't mistake this with being the reality, but at the same time, don't try to play by everybody's rules. You know what qualities you have and what you don't. Don't try to emulate something that you already know you're not, in fear that you're going to be found out, that you are an imposter, that you're trying to be like somebody else, that this is the only way to succeed. It is not. You can succeed with everything that you got, because there's one thing that you have to remember: the qualities that you do have can be very valuable. They can bring in more money, they can bring in new clients, they can help you succeed as a team. If you have a team and you already have the people that are really good at all of those things you don't like to do, then why do they need another one like them? You, on the other hand, can bring something to the table that others can't. So don't hide that. Don't pretend to be like others. This is where you'll shine. And of course, like always, it is going to be harder than playing by the rules. But playing by the rules just seems easier in the short run, because in the long run, you will have to pretend to be somebody you're not. You will have to do things that you don't want to do. And with that, you will never be able to shine. But on the other hand, if you lean into who you are, you can experience all that fun. Because before you know it, if this is the main thing that you lead with, if you present yourself as somebody who's going to be great at customer relationships, that you're going to be great as somebody who will come up with new ideas, as somebody who can work within a black box and create something new that never existed, they will see how much benefit that brings. And they will see that they need exactly somebody like you on their team. Another thing that I find very, very important when it comes to actually living that life, so living in a corporate environment or in any kind of career where you want to feel the intensity, when you want to feel alive, it's to look out for peer pressure. This is the one thing that most people cannot handle, and I have found that INFJs can handle it very well if they know what to look for. If you're, for example, in a team where everybody works late, most people will feel they will have to do the same, because if they don't, then they will feel like failures. They will feel like they're worse than others because others have the strength to work till 12 o'clock at night. They have the strength to pull through. They have the strength to actually say, I'm going to continue to push. And if you're not able to pull yourself out of that situation, you will get caught up in it. I've experienced this more than once, and not just with INFJs. People who already know that they're not made for that kind of lifestyle. I definitely wasn't, and I was still making a career within that field. I was on the fast track to manager, and these things happened because I told people right from the beginning, I'm not going to work past 8 o'clock. I'm not going to do all of those briefs. I'm not going to do all of those documents that I'm definitely not that good at. Put me in situations where I can succeed. Put me in situations where I can be of best value for you. You will never have to play by others' rules. Yes, on some level we have to obey by the rules, because if you're in a corporate job, you're not your own boss, but you will be surprised how much freedom you actually have and how much is just peer pressure pressure that is not something that has to be your reality. We as INFJs have the unique quality that we can create our own world outside of what's happening in reality. So use that. Get into a situation, and no matter what happens around you, stay focused on who you want to become within this position, how you're gonna get there, and what qualities you're going to lean into. If you do that, you're not gonna be looking at what everybody else is doing. You're not going to be worried that people will think that you're lazy, that you're weak, that you're slow, because those things won't matter to you. You will let people think this of you because you know that your strengths are somewhere else. It's not just the fact that you're good with clients. It's not just the fact that you can come up with ideas. It's the fact that you can pull yourself out of this peer pressure. It's the fact that you can decide how your world is going to look like, how you're going to feel within this environment. And if you know this, you can thrive in any kind of situation. And you will see how before you know it, people will want to work with you who can see that within you, who start valuing what you have to give. And the others who don't will want to remove themselves from you. Particularly when you're in a corporate job, you have the possibility to grow in different directions. And if you're always hiding what you're really good at and instead put on a show of what you think people want to see from you, you will automatically be pulled in a situation where you have to work for people who want different things than what you want to offer, and the circle continues to go in that direction. We don't want that. We as INFJs do have the unique quality that we can pull ourselves away from this. We can create how we want to feel. So take what you see in shows like Suits. See that this kind of way of living is possible. It's possible to strive for that, but you're not gonna get it if you just go into a corporate world and you expect it to look like that. It won't, but you can create it. You too can create an INFJ epic life within that world, but it will only happen if you say it starts with me. Just because you're working for somebody else, that does not mean that you cannot be the lead character of your movie. In your life, you're the center point. In your life, what you get to offer is the best thing there is. Not everybody's going to appreciate it, but you definitely have to. I'll give you a very obvious example here so you know how much of a role that plays. Let's say you're an amazing painter and you're really good at that. It's just amazing. People look at your paintings and they get transported into another world. But all your life, you've been taught that you should go into accounting because you can't make any money with painting. So what do? You start valuing accounting. Accounting is the thing that brings you self-worth. It's not painting. You think, yeah, I'm really good at painting, but who cares about that? Nobody would pay for this. And so what do? You go into the accounting world, you're not good at it, it doesn't really excite you, you try to play by other people's rules, and it causes you to burn out. On the other hand, if you learn to start valuing your way of being a painter, you being able to create these kind of paintings, and you know that people have a reaction to it, you start putting worth on that. And then you go the route of being a successful painter who says, well, of course my painting is worth $15,000, for example, because if people who have the money see that and it evokes that kind of emotion in them, they will be willing to pay that kind of amount. That's the kind of attitude we need with all our qualities. And it's not to say you have to do something outside of the corporate world. It's about saying, if I choose to go the corporate route, that my personal gifts have to be the thing that I value most. Because if I don't value my own gifts, how is anybody else supposed to do that? If I don't value the fact that I'm way better at client management than my colleagues, then your boss can't value that either. So stop trying to play by others' rules. Lean into who you are and what you got to offer. And when you do that, you experience a personal growth that will definitely lead you to experiencing life in a way more intense way. And you want to grow and get excited about getting the next project, about achieving the next thing, and living that INFJ epic life. I hope that inspired you to lean into your gifts because they're worth everything. Remember, if you want my help with this process, then work with me privately or join the Epic Life Bootcamp waiting list. All the information you find below. And if you want to watch another video now that is in alignment with today's topic, then watch the video on INFJ careers that make money. Like always, guys, I wish you a wonderful day, a great week, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.